Yeah. Yeah, it was like I know the I'll be on 4 years. I feel like I'm not doing it. Here, all 4 years. Yeah. Everyone else thinking that? That's profound, right? Like anything in the friend. Yeah. Well, I was right in the other the next day. Okay. Yeah, I did that. That would be that too. Can all go. You guys, yeah, and the laser.
Like, I don't know.
You can hear. I've been sitting there. Yeah, okay. Where do you want to go? Okay. I just family there. And upwards of company. So we have two offers.
Have to check the
Saturday and Sundays.
Oh, I didn't tell you. That's what happened.
Yeah, 5 minutes spending. We had chat all the things. I also chatted like Mary.
Think about I did the book and then I came.
Yes. Well, there is certain table. Maps in New York, they're on that. Anyway, I didn't know you like it is there for the check. Invited back. Yes. You have that? That is over 3 states. What I came to say. Do you have any or just kids? Oh yeah.
I but I thought here. Yeah. You have
much of our way today.
same here.
Oh, that's that guy.
Then next week.
Oh, no, those. Something like where's the person? Hello, everyone. So you'll notice we have a QR code again. I think it was 2 weeks ago, we forgot to put it up. So that was a miscommunication on our end. Today, there will also be an exit one. So watch out for the exit QR code as well. And just a secondary announcement that the 3-minute thesis is being held. I think it's the 3rd of April. So it's the last seminar session. A reminder that everyone is required to present either at the seminar, or sorry, if you're an MESC or PhD student, you're required to present at either this 3-minute thesis seminar or at a different conference or seminar as part of your graduation requirements. It's also a good way to have a conversation between us about what we're working on in terms of research. So please, I encourage you to sign up for the 3-minute thesis. If not, we will be looking for volunteers to do the seminar. So today we have David Feeney, who is with Western Careers and Experiences. And the reason I asked him to give a talk for us is that after every industry, excuse me, I can hear you whenever anyone is talking in this room. You may not notice it, but it's very noticeable when you guys are talking. So please hold your conversation until the end. Okay, cool. Yeah, so after every industry talk, there's a lot of interest in how do I find jobs? How do I actually secure positions in industry? And so I thought it was very useful to bring David in to actually talk about sort of a lot of the work that he's doing in terms of how do you actually get your foot in the door? How do you actually start talking to companies and go about finding out about what jobs are available, what would be a good fit, and how to present yourself to companies. So thank you so much for coming. And
Great. Thank you. How are you guys doing? I understand there's quite a collection of people here. Some people are in different programs. So we have master's students, is my understanding. Who's a master's student? Okay, we have PhDs. Who's a PhD student? All right. And there are 4th-year students. Who are 4th-year students? Oh, well, a couple of lonely hands go up there. Okay, so some of the things that I will talk about will be geared more toward PhDs. A lot of the information is very general information. And I've tried to put together a number of things for you this afternoon. So I am a career coach over in UCC 210, part of the career education unit. That's within Careers and Experience. I did my undergrad here. I will not tell you when that was, but this edition didn't exist. And many of the buildings on this campus didn't exist when I was here for my undergrad. I took a year out and then I went to graduate school at Queen's. There is no real rivalry, but people seem to think there is. The nice thing about Queen's and Western is that the limestone buildings are very similar vintage campuses, so that's kind of nice. I'm in the furthest thing away from engineering. My degrees are in English, so I'm an arts and humanities guy. I lament that there are so few people enrolling in arts and humanities, but I will have to get over it for the duration of this presentation. I was warned that this is a tricky, oh, there we go. So what are we going to talk about this afternoon? So I want to talk briefly about the contemporary PhD. This is a term that you're going to hear bandied about. There's more and more discussion about this, and I want to just give you sort of a flyover of that. Transferable skills. What are people looking for? What are transferable skills? When you're in graduate school, you're so focused on what you're doing that you don't necessarily think about how do those skills translate into the larger world. The PhDs here, how many want to go into academia? And how many want to go into industry? Okay, it's almost an even split there. Some people might not be sure, and that's okay. I'm not here to say one's better than the other. You know that academic jobs are tough to get, and it's a bit of a slog to find that. But we support people in whatever they're looking for. The bulk of this presentation, I want to spend talking about networking. Hugely important. And I never say networking and people jump up and down and go, great, I get to talk to people that don't know. I get to talk to strangers. I love doing that. Nobody ever says that. But networking is hugely important. It's important for you moving forward. The other thing that I will do is kind of give you a feel for what other workshops are out there as well. I work very closely with Own Your Future. How many people know of Own Your Future? Through SGPS. You're killing me. Okay. Own Your Future is a professional development program for PhDs, and it operates out of SGPS. And so I work in collaboration with that program. There are between 30 and 40 different workshops that are offered, covering a wide range of things. And I will highlight the ones that I do that are career related as we go through this. And of course, like all good professionals, I have business cards here. So if you want to, I'm just going to hit this. If you want to connect with me and learn more, that's great. That's where I want to be. That moved over, didn't it? I looked down. All right, let me talk a little bit about what we mean by the contemporary PhD. And the reason that this has become a bit of a hot topic, and the reason that this is being discussed more and more, is that trying to get industry to see the importance of a PhD. We know that PhDs haven't always been welcome in the world of work, in the industry and those sorts of things. And so we started to spend some time talking about these things. So we know the employment landscape for PhD graduates is changing, right? It's been changing for a long time. Academic jobs are there, but they're few and far between. People are shifting more and more to industry and those sorts of things. The types of things that you're doing lend itself to that, absolutely. People are often working in several different job settings, okay? And transitions are challenging. Transitions out of academia and into some other kind of work. So I'll tell you that I spent 2 years in the PhD program that I did not finish, not by my choice, but that's a whole other sort of tale. And I found myself needing to figure out a direction. And this is something that we talk to students about all the time. What we find, PhDs, graduate students, I think in general, often have underdeveloped professional skills and networks. That's not to say you don't have professional skills. What it's saying is when it comes to the kinds of transferable skills that you're going to need out there in the workplace, you're not really sure how do I translate the skills I learned in a PhD program into skills that I can use in the workplace. And the networking piece is huge. Difficulty articulating the skills that have been gained We do lots of work in Own Your Future around these things. And then there's that limited employer awareness or misperceptions about the potential value of the PhD. So then there is a grad conference coming in March. And I know that I believe I'm on a panel for this very topic during that. Look for those dates. It's a 2-dayer, mid to late March. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. So academic rigor demonstrated through publications and presentations. These are all things that are translatable to any job that you move into. All right, research, scholarship, and creative activities. So research-related employment opportunities. I was just asked a question the other day by somebody in social science. How do they, a PhD in social science, how do they talk about their skills and what skills are applicable in social science? So those research skills, those analytical skills, those analysis skills, all those sorts of things are useful in a wide swath of industry. Knowledge and ability to articulate integrated and acquired competencies and skills. So we have a skills assessment. You'll find it on the On Your Future website. I would encourage masters and PhDs. This isn't just for the PhD folks in the room. I would encourage you to do that assessment. It will do an assessment out of 6 competencies, and it will give you some really good information, help you spot some weaknesses that you might have. We'll also give you some great language to use in resumes, in CVs, in interviews, all of those sorts of things. And then, of course, experiential learning. This is a huge piece. And our office really spearheads that. We have a team that works on that. There is a graduate student internship program. I didn't come prepared to talk about that. I can if somebody wants to afterwards, but there is an internship program available to PhDs as well. Not international PhDs, I'm afraid. And this is an area that's a bit of a problem. It's a problem for me, but it's a government issue. But it's available as well. And then the value of the PhD. So working with On Your Future and with us, helping you see how you can bring that forward. So I break every rule here. It's way too much information on one slide, but we want you to see that the types of skills that are in demand, you have lots of hard skills, right? Absolutely. You're in engineering. That's a given. But employers are also looking for a lot of those other transferable skills. They used to be called soft skills, which I've always hated because it makes it sound like they're not as important as hard skills. They're all right. If you've got these, that's great, but you don't really need them. Employers really want active listening, critical thinking, social perceptiveness, coordination, all of these things, emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, flexibility, adaptability. These have all been considered in the past softer skills. These are transferable skills that you're going to want to be able to demonstrate that you need for employment. Can you have them? You have them in your program. You're in graduate school, or you're working on your 4th-year thesis. These are all skills that you're developing. By the way, I can make the deck available too if people want it. I know I don't care if you take pictures of it, but if you want the deck, I'll make it available as a PDF as well. And I'll send it to Dr. Lee, and then he can get it out to you. My Tax is another source for this information as well. So these are predominantly innovation skills, and this is predominantly on this graph, but the same sorts of things are coming up here. And the reason I'm showing you this is just so you get a sense of the importance of decision-making, curiosity, problem identification, all of those types of skills. These aren't those hard skills. These are the transferable skills that you will also need. So articulating these skills. It's going to be really important that you learn how to articulate them well across a variety of medium. It's LinkedIn and resumes and interviews and all of those sorts of situations and social situations. And I'm going to talk to you about networking and how to do that effectively in a little bit as well. So make it connected. So when you're writing resumes and cover letters and those sorts of things, then look at the skills that they are looking for and make sure that you're articulating those in your documents. Make sure that you're articulating those in your interviews. Determine the key skills. You need to be able to sell yourself. It's great that you might have lots of great things on your resume or your CV, but you want the things that are in your in terms of your resume, you want the things that they are looking for. So always keep that in mind. I learned this when I applied for this position. I thought I have a great resume, and I had a colleague of mine look it over and she said, take this out and this out. But that was really good. She said, it's not applicable, right? You want to have value add. So this is important stuff. This is more than just a 45-minute conversation. We have lots of resources for you as well to help you with these things. Make it compelling. So highlight the impact, go beyond telling the reader what you've done, show the action. I'll give you a little trailer for a workshop tomorrow if you're interested. I'm doing a CV to resume workshop tomorrow from 1:30 to 2:30. It's a hybrid. You can sign up through Connect. It's through On Your Future. And we will go into a deeper dive into how to construct those statements, those accomplishment-based statements, and how to sell yourself. And then make it clear, right? If you use an acronym, you know the convention. You need to spell it out first, then put it in brackets, those sorts of things, right from the perspective of someone without your depth of knowledge. Skills articulation is something that you need to be able to do, and you need to be able to do it well to sell yourself. I threw this slide in because this shows the difference between a CV and a resume, and I think this is important as well. Now, in engineering, you guys can go up to 3 pages in your resume. When I talk tomorrow, it will be 2 pages because that's normally what it is. But I know that in this department, 3 pages is absolutely standard. CVs, of course, are as long as they need to be. So you're at your audience with a CV is usually academic. Some industries may ask for a CV. So you give them what they want. You either give them a resume or a CV. And we have lots of examples of that, and I can give you lots of information. Our website has loads of information on resumes and CVs. With the CV, it's generally academic or scientific fields. You're displaying your academic credentials and accomplishments in greater detail. CVs are as long as they need to be. I've seen 15, 20-page CVs longer than that. My own is not that long at all. It's a big picture of you as a person and your scholarly potential, publications, presentations, etc. The resume needs to be tailored to what you're applying to. All right, the resume is really about that job that you're going after. The application is mostly non-academic. It demonstrates you have experience and skills necessary to succeed in the position that you are seeking. Compelling introduction of your experiences and skills. And there you can see I put the 2 to 3 pages. I changed my slide a little bit for you guys. So make sure you know what they're after. Are they after a CV? Are they after a resume? Which one do they want? And of course, with some companies, you'll fill out, you'll fill out all kinds of information, then they'll ask you to upload your resume after you've done all that, or your CV, but that's kind of the nature of work. Double column resumes are a problem. I've been seeing them more and more. There must be some template out there that people are latching onto, that they think, oh, this is great. My education, my skills are here, and my work experience is here. An automated tracking system will not read that very well. So if your resume goes through an ATS, an automated tracking system, you may have some difficulties with that. Simple is better. Don't use fancy colors and all that kind of stuff. Black and white is quite honestly best. I will be going into this a lot more tomorrow if you're able to come out to that. But we offer resume workshops, and I'm always available for chatting one-on-one as well. I want to give you a sense of some of the workshops that are available. Some of these have already run. They ran last term. Some are coming up. There are 5 of them that I present through Own Your Future, and there are a lot more as well, covering everything from LinkedIn to resumes to interviewing, etc. And I'm going to give you a little a glimpse of another workshop series that we've just started to run for up-year PhDs as well. So plug into these, because these are going to be really helpful for you, just in terms of job searching and getting yourself out there, whether it's an academic job or an industry job or whatever kind of job it is. Sometimes people are looking for an academic job, but also need something to kind of pay the bills until they get that academic job. And so we spent some time talking about parallel planning as well. And I'm happy to talk with people about those things. Last year, we ran a study that was funded by HECO, a career preparation series. And so that series last year had a pre and post mock interview, 3 workshops, as you can see here, identifying skills, articulating them in an interview, and then the networking workshop as well, to assess how well PhDs are able to articulate their transferable skills from their PhD. So that went very well. My colleague and I presented at Connexus, which is a big Canadian conference for career practitioners in Ottawa. We did that in January, presented the preliminary results. And so we're running it again this year. It's already started. So because we do move a cohort through, but the plan is to run this every winter term. And we spend a lot of time helping people prepare for those interview situations and how to talk about their skills and those sorts of things. So I mentioned it here because it will be available to you. And we have it for upper year PhDs. So once you're past coursework and that sort of thing and kind of focused on the thesis, so maybe 3rd, 4th year people that are starting to think about next steps, that's when we have found it fits the best. I can't remember which slide is next. So before I talk about networking, questions around some of that. That was a quick flyover of some of the things that you want to be thinking about and some of the things that we can assist you with. Any questions coming out of that before I jump into the networking piece? You're good. It's clear as mud.
Just one question.
Of course.
So, articulating your skill in the interview. So
I'm sorry.
articulating your skills in the interview, and there is a tab there. So I was just wondering, like how much percentage it is important for your technical knowledge or for your soft skill. For example, a person can talk a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have your technical skill or how
So
the
yeah, and my focus here is on, because I know that you can talk about your technical skills, right? That's something that, then this is your training, right? So you know that you can do that. And so you're going to get a mix of technical questions and more behavioral based questions. So scenario based questions. So tell me about a time when, etc. And so the reason for behavioral based questions is that the idea behind that is that if you dealt with a situation in a workplace a certain way in the past, chances are you'll deal with it in a similar fashion in the future. So past behavior is an indication of future behavior. I don't always buy that, but that's the whole idea behind it. And so that's why you get those types of questions. Tell me about yourself. People hate that question. That's always going to pretty much always going to be your first question. So I'm focusing more on those behavioral based questions where you talk about those transferable skills, because I know that you can talk about your technical skills without any assistance from us. All right. All right, let's talk about networking. So this is going to be the larger chunk now of this presentation. How many people feel like they're good networkers? Don't be shy. Nobody feels like they're a good networker. Well, I guess I'm in the right place. Do people understand the importance of networking? When I say networking, what do you think? Anyone?
Connect, make yourself known.
Okay, connect, make yourself known. Networking. Let's have a few more thoughts about what that means to people.
To know what other people are doing.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Attending like conferences to meet other professionals.
Okay. One more.
Trying to know more people in the same field.
Okay. Yes. LinkedIn. No, I'm not going to talk about LinkedIn, but how many people here are on LinkedIn? How many people aren't? Don't be shy. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are over 700 million people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn isn't just another social media site. It's a networking site. It's a professional site. So you're going to want to be on LinkedIn. And I have a workshop that I present on LinkedIn, but there's lots of information as well on our website. So if you aren't on LinkedIn, you need to give it some serious thought, because it's going to be important for you for networking and making connections with people. All of the things that people have said already is part of LinkedIn. And some of what I'm going to talk about here is also part of LinkedIn. Oh, I don't have any sound.
Networking can be a scary experience for some of us. Maybe you're shy, uncomfortable in social situations, or don't want to bother anybody. Remember this, networking is just like asking for directions. Let's say you're in a new city and need directions, but your phone is out of battery. You stop the first person you see and ask for directions. The person doesn't know the way and keeps walking. No problem, you just ask the next person. Nailed it. This person offers to walk you right there. Think of networking in the same way, and it may help you demystify the process. Some people will not be able to help you, and that's okay. Failed attempts are part of the process, but there's usually someone more than happy to help you get where you want to go. You just need the courage to start asking. Your future is yours to design.
So asking for directions, that's really what networking is all about. Marketplace realities. So we've heard a lot about the Great Resignation since COVID. COVID certainly has had an impact in lots of ways. So as it states here, in 2021, the number of US LinkedIn members who changed jobs rose 40% from the year before. All right. And according to a recent Canadian survey, roughly 25% of Canadian workers have changed jobs recently, and a whopping 65% of US workers nationwide said they are seeking new employment. There's lots of shifting going on. Right, so people are looking for opportunities at a rate not seen in the past. So lots is happening out there. That's the first reality. Technology and remote work. For better or worse, it's here. And there's always been remote work. People have always worked from home. Dr. Lee and I were just chatting about this before I started this afternoon, but I personally don't do well working from home. It's not a good fit for me. I live alone. I need to be social and out seeing people. And that's why I live alone, because I see people and I come home and recharge. But working from home, it's very difficult to do that. We have done most of our presentations this year in person. Generally we've done some hybrid as well. I was also talking to Dr. Lee about this. Yeah, yesterday I did a 2-hour workshop on Zoom for the first time this year. I hated it because there's no connection. I don't get to pace around. I don't walk around my office when I'm doing Zoom presentations. So the pandemic accelerated existing trends in remote work, e-commerce, and automation. 25% more workers than previous estimated, potentially needing to switch occupations. Lots of people like to work remotely, and that's great, but it doesn't work for everyone. So the percentage of remote positions has tripled since 2020. So your competitors are no longer limited by geography. You don't have to necessarily worry about where you're living when you apply to a position. People heard about technological nomads, people who just travel the world, and the other types of jobs that they can do just by plugging in their laptop and doing everything remotely. It's fascinating because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people doing this. But the bar remains high. So just because all of this shift is happening, it doesn't mean that the employers aren't still looking for high caliber talent. Organizational attitudes toward finding the best candidate with great skills hasn't changed. So it's still competitive. There's lots of shifting, there's lots of change going on, but it's still competitive. And so you need to keep that in mind. You know, you're not limited by geography, but you need to demonstrate that you're the best candidate for the job and that you're competent, interested, and appreciative. These are all things that you're demonstrating through those interviews, through your resumes, etc. What is networking? Well, it's using people to get a job. I hear this all the time. And I had a student last summer who came in. He had been out of work for 6 months. Graduated 6 months before, rather, and had chosen not to take the advice about networking and was still struggling to find employment. And so he admitted that maybe he should have listened when we talked about networking. We talked about it being asking for directions and just getting into a conversation. And I get it. I've networked. Reaching out to people that you don't know can be kind of scary. I will tell you that every job that I've had, including Western, there's a link to somebody I know. As a matter of fact, the person who helped me move into the careers and experience department is one of your career profile advisors, one of your career officers here in engineering. She was with our office, but she's no longer there. So I know that networking works. And I don't know that I'm the best networker in the world, but I know that it works. Who knows the iceberg problem? People heard of this idea around networking? Yes. Can you tell me what it is? That's okay. With an iceberg, 80% of the iceberg is underwater, only 20% is above water. 80% of the jobs that you're seeking, 80% of those postings, 80% of those offers are in the hidden job market. Believe me or not believe me, but it's true. If all you do is spend your time applying for jobs on Indeed and the various job sites and those various postings, you're going to be frustrated fairly quickly. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, because you certainly can still be doing that, but don't spend all of your time doing that. You want to get that 80%. And the reason for that is that people use, first of all, let me back up for a second. In that 80% of jobs, some of those jobs are posted eventually, but somebody else already has a foot in the door. They're being posted because they need to go through the motions. When we post for a position in our office, for instance, one of the first things our director will say is, if you know of anybody who would be a good fit, fit is key. Anybody who'd be a good fit, somebody who is qualified, encourage them to apply. Employers would rather have referrals before having to go beyond that. So let's talk about how most people search for work. Online job boards, the Indeeds and Night Hunter and all of those great places. I've done it. Everybody has done it at some point. Career fairs and recruiters. And I'm not saying it's nice. And I'm not saying that career fairs aren't something that you should be participating in, because absolutely you should, but it can't be the only thing that you're doing. Friends and relatives, and finally, okay, I'll network, because I don't really want to, but apparently I need to do that. How do recruiters look? Recruiters start with internal referrals. Right? As I said, if somebody who's a good fit or would do well in this office, encourage them to apply. Then external referrals. So I might call somebody up and say, we're hiring in our office. I know that you worked with a few people that you thought were really good before. What do you think? Could you make some referrals for us? When I worked in the not-for-profit sector, that happened all the time. I would get an email from somebody, this person has applied, I know they worked in your office, any thoughts? Existing pool of candidates, lots of companies are notorious for doing this. They do this big recruiting process. They have you do testing, they have you do all kinds of things, and then they sit on that pool of candidates. Government jobs are often like this. Workplace Safety and Insurance Board that I did a contract with in a capacity a number of years ago was notorious for this. They would go through the splits and then they wouldn't do anything with those applicants for months and months and months. Finally, recruiters, job fairs and ads, because it's more expensive to do that for employers. It's easier for employers to do the referral process and those sorts of things. Everything you want in life is a relationship away. I found this quote last summer. I trot it out as often as I can. It is true. You just need to believe me. You just need to reach out. Everything you need is out there. You need to talk to people, you need to make connections. Because as it says, everything you need is out there. All right. I have a 5-step plan for you for networking. So I'm going to run through some ideas for you on how to do this, how to set yourself up for success, how to organize yourself. A lot of what I'll talk about is, reaching out through LinkedIn or through email, those sorts of things. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be helpful for you as well. So first of all, you need to focus, right? You need to figure out what industry you're interested in, the geography, the size of the organization. By the way, people always want to apply to the big sexy organizations like the Amazons and the Googles and those sorts of things in this world. And that's great. And they hire lots of people, but mid to small size companies hire more people because there are more of them. It's just a numbers game. So if all you do is pitch yourself, I hear this from accounting students, they just want to apply to the big four. It's like, well, you can do that, but you're going to get frustrated pretty quickly. Mid to small size account for more hires. So focus on where you want to be in terms of that. And maybe that's fairly broad. So maybe you want to try to narrow that down. You don't want to do the, I'm going to throw all of this at the wall and see what sticks strategy to job searching, right? You want to be focused. Do some research. Research is important and it's easily done. You can do it online. You can do it in any number of ways. The kind of research that you're doing here is really to be able to talk to people who work in those industries. So there are industry associations, there are chambers of commerce, business resources, London Economic Development Corporation, LEDC here in London is a great resource. They list all kinds of industry and business and give you lots of ways to connect. Most large cities have an economic development corporation. Talk to friends, peers, alumni. Who here uses the alumni search tool on LinkedIn? I feel like we should be doing a LinkedIn session today. There is a way of searching on LinkedIn, searching alumni. So people who have graduated already. The last time I was on there were 200,000 alumni on there. You can filter that because you don't have to look at 200,000. You can filter that by where they work. You can filter it by where they live. You can filter it by the degree they have. Now, it's not as granular as to get into masters, PhDs, that sort of thing, but it will give you engineering, so civil engineering, environment, whatever it might be. And you can look at people who have graduated and start to reach out to those people and get a sense of their career path. You want to be talking to people who have been out for 4 or 5 years, I would suggest, because people who are just graduating like yourselves, perhaps, are in the same boat. So you want people who have a career path that you can have a look at and get some ideas from. All right, so reaching out, making a clear ask. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of that. One of them is very long, and I'm not completely thrilled by the length of it, and I'll tell you where I would cut it. And then one is one that I received on LinkedIn as well, that I thought was quite good and to the point. So make it easy for them to say yes. So what's the context? Why you're reaching out like this? Maybe this is LinkedIn. Maybe this is somebody you met at a conference. You got their email. Now you want to follow up with them and have a further conversation. What's the agenda? A bit of a short introduction. And prepare, you want to prepare for those informational discussions. I try not to call them informational interviews because interviews makes it sound a little different because it's not an interview and you're not asking for a job. You're asking for information. So informational conversations, I think, is a better way to think about it. So reaching out. This is the one. Now, I did not craft this, by the way. This was my colleague who crafted this. I just changed the name in it. So this is a very long request. So maybe this is something that goes out on LinkedIn. Maybe it goes out through email. It gives some detail about the program the person is currently in. They came across a profile. They'd like to meet in person. This is the part that I'm not fond of. I'm available Monday, Wednesday, Thursday between 11 and 3. I would not be dictating to the person receiving this when you're available. It's when they're available. Right. So I would not do that. That's the part of this one, but I show it to you anyways, because I think it's a good one to examine. You want to ask for 30 minutes of their time when you are doing these asks. To talk to somebody, coffee chats, or ideally it's in person. Can't always be in person. Zoom has helped. Yes, I said it. Zoom has helped in terms of that. You can do an informational conversation easier through Zoom. It might just be back and forth through email as well, and through texting as well. Either way, it's going to be useful for you to have prepared for that. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in just a sec. Let me show you another example. So this is one that I received on LinkedIn. I'm reaching out with this invite to connect as a means to initiate an informational interview with you. That's nice and to the point. That's exactly what you're asking for. And I know what you're asking for. As an employment counselor for profit sector for 20 years now, I'm considering the directions and learning opportunities. Nice and to the point. If you're inclined, I welcome a response. And this was just through LinkedIn. I did reach out to this person. We had a conversation. So you can try any number of ways. We have lots of information on our site on the etiquette and how to word these things and how to write these things. And you may send out 30 requests and get 2 back. Now, you think, well, that's not very useful. Well, actually, that's quite useful because after you've talked to somebody, after you've had that conversation, then you say to them, well, this has been great. This has been really helpful. I hope I can keep in touch. Are there a couple of more people that you think I should talk to? And so they might say, well, yeah, actually, I can put you in contact with my 2 colleagues, and suddenly that network grows fairly quickly. So it's not the number, it's the quality, right? It's not quantity, it's quality. Develop open-ended questions. You don't want yes/no questions. Align them with your agenda. Develop 10 or 12 questions, maybe more than that. You're not going to get a chance to ask all of those, but the reason you want that many questions is that you want to be able to pick and choose, because maybe during the course of the conversation, they've answered some of the questions you were going to ask. So now you can skip some of those and go to some of the other questions. I had a student who did an informational interview with me last year, and she came in really prepared. She kept it to 30 minutes. She had a bit of a elevator pitch for me when she came in, sold herself. I'd already worked with her, but she did that. And then had a whole list of questions, but picked and chose the questions that seemed relevant. And you always want to remember that context time is valuable. Some people will give you more than 30 minutes. Lots of people will, but you want to try to keep it to that. Close to ensure that you continue contact. So it's an ongoing process. Track your efforts. Develop a bit of a spreadsheet or whatever it is to keep track of who you reached out to, and maintain that flow, maintain that connection. And so in terms of following up, because now, okay, well, I've talked to them. Well, now what do I do? Like, how do I do this? How do I maintain this relationship with this person? So you can send a link to some article or a podcast or those sorts of things. Just touch base occasionally, just to see where things are at. You, of course, finished your conversation with them, asking that, you maintain contact. You might be able to set up another meeting. You always want to thank them, of course. If you see that they've had a promotion, those sorts of things, and there's that little congratulations thing that you want to do. And try to do these things in person as much as you can. I think we've started to return to in person now, after a number of years where we were not. Oh, thank you. I'm getting my, this is good. I'm pretty good with timing today. So reality. 78% of recruiters are looking at referrals for hiring and for bringing people on board. Social networks, interns, and you can see how it drops off from there. So networking is an important aspect of what you need to be doing in terms of looking for employment and moving forward. I also found this recently. I want to do this, then do it, but I'm scared, do it scared. Right? We all have to do things that we're not really comfortable doing. And that's okay, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And eventually it will become less of a scary thing. So thank you for your time. I'm in 210 UCC, and you can reach me there. And yeah, that's all I have for you this afternoon.
Any question for a speaker?
You just spoke about 2 columns, resume or CV, but nowadays some recruiters still prefer to have a 2-column resumes, because they got generally around like 300-400 resume for even a single position.
Not easy to read, my friend. It's very difficult for me to pull the information out of a 2-column resume quickly. And so when people review resumes, I have 2 piles. I've got a short list, and then I have this pile. My short list is, do they have what I need? So I need to be able to look at it really quickly, go, yep. Short list, no, yep, go. And then I'm going to go in over it in more detail. I'm not saying you can't do it, a double-columned resume, but you're going to handicap yourself with it, because as I said, An automatic tracking system is not going to read it as well. You have to take it on faith.
What is the better option of like format of the resume? Is it paragraph style or like?
Sorry?
What is the better option, better format for resume? With the paragraph or the bullet points?
Bullet points, always bullet points, and your bullets might be a couple of lines long, and that's okay. But it needs to be bullet points. You want to write accomplishment-based statements. So what was the context? What was the action? What was the result? You saw that spelled car. You see it is easy to remember. In terms of, and we have a lot more detail that I will go into tomorrow in the workshop and also on our website as well. And I can always come back and do a whole resume workshop if that's something that people feel they need as well. Yes.
When it comes to LinkedIn, is it good to have a lot of connections or very few? Like, does that matter?
The more connections you have, the greater your reach, right? So if you connect with this gentleman here, then you're going to be able to access his connections and so on. So it's not like Facebook, right?
So it doesn't matter, like, shouldn't be selective, or should we be selective of people in our field or people that we know?
I think you just cast a broad net. I mean, because think outside the box, because you don't know who that person might know, right? And so, but this person doesn't work in my industry, but they're connected to people in my industry. And so think about it that way as well. Yes.
In LinkedIn, what's the importance of having endorsements to your profile?
It's just another piece. I don't know. I don't live and die by those things, but you want to get people to endorse your skills and those sorts of things. And, you know, like I say, the quality of the profile in terms of your profile and your about section, think of your resume and include all of that information as well. The nice thing about LinkedIn is you can include lots of information in there, as much as you think you need. And so, you know, links to projects and those sorts of things, if you felt that could be helpful. And always put your LinkedIn URL at the top of your resume along with your address, because employers are going to look anyway, so you might as well provide it for them. And that way, where you might be limited on that resume, you still have lots of other information that they can access on your LinkedIn page as well.
Other questions? If not, we'll be around a little bit afterwards. Sure. If you want to have a discussion. Other than that, thank you so much for welcome.